Welcome to the Friends of Israel's Jew and Gentile podcast. I am your host, Chris Katulka, and with me is none other than the Jewish sage himself, the one, the only, Mr. Steve Herzig. How are you, sir?
Well, what's my shirt say?
It says Zadie, the man, the myth, and the mensch. Where'd you get that?
I got that from my retirement lunch with ministry services, and they gave me a gift. They gave Alice a gift. They gave her a chocolate rose.
A chocolate rose.
Yeah.
That's very nice.
She loves that, and I got a shirt.
You got the Zadie, the man, the myth, the mensch.
So,
you are the
Chris,
man.
This is 3 weeks in a row that we're talking about a shirt that I'm wearing.
That's right. Actually,
Two straight weeks I wore the same shirt, and now I am really a podcaster. No collared shirt. Look, I look like a schnorr.
You're
not
practically Joe Rogan right now.
Not like a mensch. Look at this. I have never been in this office with a T-shirt.
No,
on.
in fact, just so that people know, so they don't think Steve lost all of his, desire to dress up a little bit. He had to take off his button-down shirt. He goes, you know what? I'm taking this thing off, and I'm just going T-shirt right now.
I am, but I couldn't walk in the building with just a T-shirt.
I know. What is that? What is that? Who cares? You're dressed.
I care. It's what can I tell you, Chris? What do I know? But I do know this. You never tell me anything.
I know.
Over the weekend, Pastor Neil calls me. Oh, hi, Pastor Neil. How's it going? He had a question, and we were talking, and he said, you did see the video I sent Chris. I said, Bupkis. I don't even know what you're talking about.
You know what I love is that my two good friends here, Pastor Neil and you're just ratting me out. This is hilarious.
What? He said, did you see the video? What video? I haven't seen any video. You never tell me anything.
Well, can I tell you? Can I tell you what's going on?
Tell me.
All right, October 7th is around the corner, and a couple of weeks ago, Pastor Neil sends me two text messages through our text line, 424-444-1948.
Would he send me it? Couldn't you, in texting, add Steve to this? No. So, who's the big loser? Me.
No, he sent it to the text line.
Oh, okay.
He sent it to 424-444-1948, and when he texted it, it came in a little blurry and whatnot, but he goes, Chris, you have to hear this. Pastor Neil, he went to a Bible art museum that's actually adjacent to where I used to live in Dallas at a mall called North Park Mall. And there's this Bible museum / art gallery thing going on there. And he goes, Chris, I was walking around supporting a friend. And when I got there, I noticed it was all of these images of people's faces. And here the guy, the docent that was leading them around said, this is a October 7th art gallery where all the faces of those who I believe were murdered on October 7th or taken hostage. Taken hostage were painted all over. And so Pastor Neil did a great thing. He started recording him, and we were talking on the phone afterwards. I said it came in kind of blurry. He goes, I'm going to go back. I'm going to get a real microphone. I'm going to get my camera, and he did a great job. And we're going to feature this for October 7th coming up. So thank you to Pastor Neil for doing this.
Thank you, Pastor Neil, for telling me something that I should know, but I don't know. But that's all right.
Hey, I am sorry, but you still are the Zadie, the man, the myth, and the mensch.
That's right. And Chris, over the weekend, I saw you on TV. I saw Chris Katulka, the vice president of North American Ministries. No, Alice is the one that told me about it. Hey, she said, are you aware of this? Nope. Has Chris told you? Nope. He never tells me anything. So, Lighthouse TV, Chris, you were on Stand in the Gap.
Stand in the Gap with Sam Rohr.
With a former politician.
Yep, Sam Rohr, who's an amazing man. He has a real heart for pastors. It's America's Pastors Network that he has. And in fact, we have to be out of here in the next 55 minutes because I'll be on the radio with him. He has a radio show that broadcasts as well. Great man, loves Israel. I believe the whole Lighthouse TV, but especially Sam, love Israel and the Jewish people. And so it's been a great friendship that we've been building over the last couple months.
And he has a sidekick who was raised reading Israel My Glory magazine.
That's right. And even more than that, what's awesome about that sidekick is that sidekick is the one whose church one of our representatives went to and grew a heart for Jewish ministry. Alicia Rouse went to New York to go do ministry years and years ago and ended up going to his church. And that's where she encountered the Hasidic community and got a calling to Jewish ministry. And so there's that unique connection as well.
Amazing. That is amazing. Well, Chris, as we think about you being on TV and me getting shut out of all information, I want to tell you about we need to observe a synagogue that has two problems, one problem, and they don't know how to handle it. The two synagogues, two opinions.
I
thought this was amazing.
This is a Jerusalem Post article that we have.
That's right.
Chris, Times of Israel that we have highlighted in our show notes.
Chris, when I was growing up, we were taught about the importance of God's word, the Torah. The Torah scrolls are handwritten by scribes. They're placed on a bima in an ark and displayed every Shabbat in front of the congregation. Growing up, you see them decorated with beautiful silver or gold and tingling bells. And then the question always comes up at Hebrew school, what would happen if you drop? What happens if that thing falls on the ground? If our Siddur prayer book fell on the ground, we have to kiss it. If the Tanakh falls on the floor, you kiss it. But this is the Torah scroll. What do you do? Well, Chris, they fell at two different synagogues. Not while somebody was holding them, but while they were displayed in the ark, it broke two different places, and now they fell to the ground. So they have a big discussion. What do we do? Oh, they knew about what I was taught. I was taught you have to fast 40 days. No doubt about it. 40 days, that's what you got to do. But isn't it great to know that Jewish people say, well, wait a minute. Let's have a conversation. And that's what this article is about, Chris.
That's right. It says two congregations, two opinions as Torahs hit the floor at separate New York City synagogues.
Torahs hit the floor.
That's right. During Sunday morning services at Hebrew Institute of Riverdale, Rabbi Jeffrey Fox had just opened the door of the ark and turned to put his prayer book down on the lectern when he heard the unthinkable sound. One of the Torah scrolls kept in the cabinet had fallen to the floor. His heart sank and gasps were heard at the
That's because he knew the penalty.
That's right. Oh, my goodness. Gasps were heard at the modern Orthodox congregation.
Because they knew the penalty.
100%. In Bronx, where Fox is member and plays an informal rabbinical role when the paid clergy are otherwise engaged. Tradition regards the dropping of a Torah scroll as such a dishonor that it demands communal penance. Famously, although not compulsory, is that how you say it?
Compulsory.
There you go. Some authorities say that the dropper and witnesses should fast the dropper. Is that the official Talmudic name?
You're the dropper.
The dropper and witnesses. I'd be running out of that room if I saw the Torah falling. Witnesses should fast for at least a day and maybe 40.
That's what I was taught, 40 days. So, Chris, this didn't happen in one place. It happened in two places. And so the article is about what are they going to do.
One was the modern Orthodox congregation. The next one was just a day before. The same thing happened at Alt Shul, an independent egalitarian minyan that meets at Congregation Bet Elohim in Brooklyn. There, a scroll fell out of the ark during Sunday morning Shabbat services.
No, not Sunday morning.
Or Saturday morning Shabbat services. And that's as far as that article goes. But I'm assuming they have a completely different
Well, they had a discussion, Chris. They had a discussion, and the one congregation decided that, this is the Orthodox one, on Tuesday, I don't know which date, but Tuesday following this event, they were going to fast as a congregation. So they did that. The other congregation said, is there a way we could give tzedakah instead? Can we
pay it out?
Can we, there's contrition. Let's give resources to help the cause. And so they got out of it. But I'm not even critical.
You're not judging.
Not in the slightest. I'm just saying only Jewish people. A Gentile drops their Bible, Zygazant, you pick it up, you make sure you clean it off, and that's it. But not Jewish people. No. It's holy. God's word's holy. So they meet together to talk about how could we make up for this.
Yeah. And
it wasn't even their fault. It just fell.
Yeah, no, it was just
I
leaning
turn
against...
around. What happened? Boom! It's on the ground.
That's right. I'm telling you, if I were a witness, it says witnesses too.
Yeah,
The moment I would see that thing leaning, but I'd be turning my back and running for the door. 40 days of fasting.
Yep, that's a rough one.
Is that how Jesus ended up in the wilderness for 40 days? Did the Torah scroll drop or something? What happened?
I can't tell you that, but I can tell you that as we follow this, Chris, my wife found another, I don't know, what piece of art, a picture?
It's more like a cartoon from a magazine or newspaper.
Last week, what did we last week we had this one, which is Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head and family. And they're named Kanish, Latke, Kugel, and Chip. And we like that. Alice found that, but now she found another one. Yeah. I don't even know where she got it.
But this is not just a cartoon. This is
reality.
This is your life.
This is my life.
I should rewind. This is Alice's life.
That's
okay?
right. That's right.
And that's why it says mixed marriage. And there's a wife and a husband sitting at the table. And it
says, the wife is nice looking. Look at the guy. That must be me.
And the wife says, "Why are you arguing?" And the husband says, "I'm not arguing. I'm Jewish."
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
I listen. I've been.
We can't put that in the show notes, can we?
I could somehow figure something out. Okay. We can figure something out.
Okay, terrific. Well, anyway, Chris, who sponsors this Mishigas that we call the podcast?
We should have titled the podcast Mishigas. That actually might have done better.
Craziness. Who sponsors this?
The Friends of Israel's Jew and Gentiles podcast is sponsored by FOI Equip. And, we just heard from Bruce Scott this morning during chapel, who talked about our encounter program, which is a part of FOI Equip. And we had more than 25 Christians come through the doors of Friends of Israel this summer to interact with the Jewish community. They went to Brooklyn. They went to Manhattan. They went to a synagogue in Philadelphia. They went and did service projects in South Jersey to help the Jewish community. But at the end of the day, what happens is a Christian who comes in with kind of a misunderstanding, or not only want to say misunderstanding, kind of not a full picture of Judaism, goes away with a better understanding of the Jewish people and how to minister to them, because they interact with the Hasidic, the ultra-Orthodox.
In fact, we have a friend, Friends of Israel has a Hasidic friend who every time we come up there, they want to speak to our group.
Oh, yeah. Actually, a very famous guy. His name's Manis Friedman, and he's the most popular rabbi on YouTube. If you scroll through...
And he's not afraid to tell you that.
It's true, he's not. But he's got if you saw him, you might even recognize him, because if you're scrolling through Instagram or Facebook Reels or TikTok or whatever you're going through...
He's on all of them.
He's on all of them. He gets millions and millions of hits. But he comes and he shares about what he believes about the Bible and what it means to be Jewish. And then what happens is a lot of times there's disagreement. As Christians, we go, well, I don't know if that's really what the Bible says. And we get an opportunity to talk about it and talk through it. And then we interact with the Sephardic Orthodox community in Philadelphia, and we go to their synagogue service, and we get a chance to see how a synagogue service functions. And then we go down to the Reformed community, or even the humanistic Jewish community of South Jersey, and we participate in volunteer work. But at the end of the day, a Christian, I believe, leaves with a heart for Israel and the Jewish people, a heart to minister to them, and a heart to understand the best way to speak and love them. And so that is really what Encounter is all about. It's encountering the Jewish community here between New York City and Philadelphia, which really, Steve, I always say Friends of Israel is right on the highway of the second largest Jewish community in the world, between Washington, D.C. and Boston, Massachusetts. And we are right in the middle of it, and we get a chance to interact with our Jewish friends all the time. So Encounter through FOI Equip is a way for you to engage, and you can find out more about how to be a part of Encounter and other FOI Equip ministries by going to foiequip.org.
Well, that's not the only way. When they go on foiequip.org, you're going to find that we have classes that you can be free classes. You can sit at your own computer. And September 11th and September 18th, Dr. Will Varner,
I'm telling you, he's taken us to another level.
From the Master's Seminary and Master's University is going to be teaching us on, could this be Jesus? Isaiah chapter 53. And that is the question that almost every Jewish person has to deal with when they read Isaiah chapter 53. Who is this person?
And I think, as Dr. Varner will always do, is to give us all the perspectives, but really drive home the idea that Isaiah 53 is speaking about the suffering servant, Jesus, the Messiah. And so I encourage you to sign up for this free class with about Isaiah 53. Could this be Jesus, with Dr. Will Varner, by going to foiequip.org. And then even in October, Steve, we're going to have a one-night class in October featuring the second anniversary of October 7th. And just kind of going through, we're actually going to hear from a survivor of October 7th.
Amazing.
Yeah, and
amazing.
so we encourage you to, again, you can register for all these classes for free.
But what happens, Chris, if they miss it? Do they miss the opportunity if it's not live?
No, they can actually just go on YouTube, or even better, become an FOI Equip with the Equipper Pass. You can become an Equipper by going to foiequip.org. And there, all the classes that we have.
Is that like the dropper?
It's like the dropper, but you don't have to fast for 40 days.
The Equipper and the dropper.
That's exactly right. So anyway, go to foiequip.org, register, sign up, be a part of all the things that are happening here as we equip you to love the Jewish people. All right, Steve.
Chris, Psalm 119.
Yeah, we're going through it.
Believe it or not, we went through Aleph, Beit, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, and today we're going through Zayin and Chet. I got to be far enough away before the Gentile would say Het. But the Jewish person would say Chet. And that's why in Hebrew, you hear all this stuff. And a lot of spitting in Hebrew.
Yeah, there is. My argument is this is why Israelis are always so close to one another, because they spit on each other.
That's exactly right. But we're in Zayin right now. And Chris, why don't you read that for us?
Yeah, Zayin. Here we go. I am behind. I apologize. Here we go. Remember your word to your servant. This is verse 49 of Psalm 119. Remember your word to your servant, for you have given me hope. My comfort in my suffering is this. Your promise preserves my life. The arrogant mock me unmercifully, but I do not turn from your law. I remember, Lord, your ancient laws, and I find comfort in them. Indignation grips me because of the wicked who have forsaken your law. Your decrees are the theme of my song wherever I lodge. In the night, Lord, I remember your name, that I might keep your law. This has been my practice. I obey your precepts.
Well, Chris, what I did when I prepared this.
Yeah, because you're the producer now. You are the producer. You're not just the co-host. You're the producer. Bada bing.
We've really taken a step down. I'm like the dropper. I guess I'm like the dropper. But there's what happens when I read a text, there's certain words that stand out. We know the context here. The writer of Psalm 119 is highlighting the importance of the Word of God, the Word, and its importance. And so there's some key words in this section in Zayin. First of all, remember. And Chris, we're getting close to the 7th month of the Hebrew calendar, which when it comes will bring the first of 3 specific convocations or holy days or holidays from Leviticus 23, the first one being Rosh Hashanah. And the key word there is remember, going back and remember, taking inventory. And so the psalmist here is saying, pay attention. Remember, pay attention to your judgment in verse 52, your name, your word. And when we think about remembering, it's so intertwined in Judaism, both biblical Judaism, and I might argue, as we took our encounter group up to the New York with the Hasidic folks, remembering for them is big time.
Big time.
Big time. And so remembering's important. Comfort. The Word of God brings comfort. And so in verse 50, it talks about comfort in affliction. And comfort myself as I remember judgments. I found that an interesting concept, one you and I could talk about. And then statutes, another name for the Word. Statutes in my song. I found that, we'll have to talk about that, and kept, how we're kept by the law. So I wondered, Respond to some of those words.
Yeah, well, the first is remember, and I like what you like. It's interesting because remember is used twice in verse 49 and verse 52, and the actual remember is going to two different places. Remember your word to your servant, for you have given me hope. So first, the writer of Psalm 119 is saying, God, remember me. Remember your word to your servant, for you have given me hope. And I'm reminded of all the times that throughout the Bible, there are several people who have said to God, remember me. Like, don't forget. Hello, are you out there? You know? And I'm reminded even of in Exodus chapter 2 at the very end, as Moses is about to come on the scene, the people of Israel are suffering. They're slaves in Egypt. And it says, God remembered his covenant and oath that he made with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And it's not that God forgets. God doesn't forget. But remembering oftentimes can mean to take action. God's about to take action on something that he had done. So it's almost as if the psalmist is saying, God, take action with the words that you promised me because they've given me hope. The thing that you promised me is giving me hope. So remember that thing, take action on it, make it happen. And then in verse 52, it says, I remember, Lord, your ancient laws, and I find comfort in them. So that's where the promise is. It's bound up in those laws and the promises that are in the Torah, in the first 5 books of Moses. And, you know, recently, Steve, I'm a sucker for studying Second Temple Judaism, which is the in-between period, just as the Second Temple was built by Ezra, Nehemiah, Zerubbabel, and then it's destroyed by Titus in 70 AD. There's this period of a lot of writing that's going on, and a lot of it isn't canonical. It's not in the Bible. It's the Dead Sea Scrolls are some of the Second Temple Judaism. Josephus is Second Temple Judaism, and other writings as well. And as you read through these things, it's very fascinating. Of course, they're not biblical, but it's fascinating to see how Jewish people were thinking and writing, because they were constantly remembering God, Steve, all the time. They would remember him because they would actually go back and retell the story of the Bible all the time. I'm going through the book of Jubilees right now, and it's just fascinating because the writer, he's writing, trying to show the story from creation on. He's retelling the story from the Bible, and he's remembering and trying to encourage his people around him during a very difficult time to remember God and remember how he led his people through a dangerous and difficult times. And so remembering is very important, because a lot of times, even with the psalmist here, you can be in a lot of despair and a lot of hopelessness. But when you're gravitating to what God has done and you remember what God has done, it gives you a footing for hope. And that's exactly what it's saying here. Remember your word to your servant, for you have given me hope. And when you remember God's word, it gives you the foundation to have hope for the future, no matter what's going on around you.
And in verse 55, I remember your name in the night.
Yeah.
Why do you think it's only in the night? Chris, when you reach my age, you wake up at night. Now, you wake up. In fact, if you only wake up once, that's a good night. I've had a few where there was more than one time. But a lot of times, and I would say I wake up for some physical reasons, but a lot of times God wakes you up. Mm-hmm. And he brings to mind something or someone to pray for. You remember, so you wake up, and if you're attuned, a name, a thing comes to your mind, and you wake up and you say, I need to pray for that person. I could tell you, Chris, there have been times that it happened to me when I told somebody I prayed for them, and it's happened when somebody told me they prayed for me, where when they prayed, something was actually happening with me, or vice versa. And so the psalmist says, again in verse 55, I remember your name. Names are powerful, especially in Judaism. God has multiple names, and they all describe who he is, and remembering that can be a great encouragement and hope.
You know, we actually have had an FOI Equip class that was taught by none other than Dr. Joe Zakovich, who is a teacher at Masters University, who taught a class on the names of God. And he went to Harvard University, He's gone through Hebrew University in Israel. He speaks fluent Hebrew. So he gives a lot of amazing definition to the name of God. But even a part of the name is a reputation. This is something I'm trying to teach my kids. Steve, today I dropped my kids off at school for their very first day of school.
Another year.
That's right. My daughter's in a freshman. My twins are in 7th grade. And my youngest is in 3rd grade. And it's interesting because I'm trying to get them to see that your name can carry a reputation. You know, some people, you say a name.
Oh, you're a Katulka.
Oh, I'm telling you, the moment you say Katulka, there are some people who look and go, ay.
Oh, no.
But the idea, Ezekiel chapter 36 is an amazing passage because God is saying to Israel in Ezekiel 36, I'm going to return you to the land, not because you deserve it, but because of my holy name. But actually, I love the way that some people translate it, Steve, because it says in Hebrew, it says Kodesh Shem, which is a holy name, but it actually, the meaning of it is because of my holy reputation, that I have to fulfill my promise to you, Israel.
In spite of you.
In spite of you, because no matter where you go, you kind of like take my reputation and throw it under the bus. I do that. I mean, I always tell people Israel's story is my story. I'm not saying I'm perfect. Israel's not perfect, but God is saying, I'm going to fulfill and be faithful to you because of my holy reputation. I have to do it. My name is bound to this thing. And so that brings, I don't know about you, but that brings comfort, which is another one of your words, knowing that my attitude, my faithfulness, that, you know, as much as I'm frail, all these things, they're not the reason why I'm saved. I'm not saved because of who I am. I'm saved because of who God is and his compassion and mercy that was poured out on me through his son, Jesus. It's nothing I did. I just simply said, yes, Lord, and repented and turned to him. That's it. I mean, he's done everything else. It's not even my righteousness. Even that's what God says to Israel. It's not because of your righteousness I'm bringing you into this land. It's because of the oath and promise that I swore to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And so again, it's because of God's faithfulness and the fact that he, of course, is remembering, but acting upon his holy reputation, his name.
You know, Chris, Isaiah 53, which Varner will be speaking about, it talks about our righteousness and being filthy rags. Shmatas is the word. Shmata is a rag, and it's God's righteousness that comes upon us. Well, we got to move along, Chris. We did Zayin. Now we got to go to Chet.
Yep, let me read this. You are my portion, Lord, verse 57. I have promised to obey your words. I have sought your face with all my heart. Be gracious to me according to your promise. I have considered my ways and have turned my steps to your statutes. I will hasten and not delay to obey your commands. Though the wicked bind me with ropes, and I will not forget your law. At midnight I rise to give you thanks for your righteous laws. I am a friend to all who fear you, to all who follow your precepts. The earth is filled with your love, Lord. Teach me your decrees. I don't know why I have this thought in my mind. I took my family last week on the annual Katulka.
I saw the video.
Central Park.
You told me. Then you tell me. I'm included in the Central Park, New York City bike ride.
That's right. The annual Central Park Katulka bike ride. And I love what it says, that I am a friend to all who fear you, to all who follow your precepts. So we were walking through, or riding our bikes or whatever, through Rockefeller Center. And right next to that is St. Patrick's Cathedral. And, you know, when you're there and you're going to the church, that's the center of the New York. It's not like the most godly place in the world. So when people are veering off to go to a church and everybody else is going this way, you think a little bit different about, I wonder who's going in here. Why are they going in here? And sure enough, there was this lady who was standing outside taking a picture, and her hat, I loved it. She goes, Team Jesus. That's what it said on her hat. Team Jesus. And you know what happened? It's just I don't know this woman. I didn't even talk to her. My heart felt a connection. I don't know anything about her. But look, if you're walking around New York City with a hat that says Team Jesus on it, you've got my attention. And hey, look, you know what? I'm sure if you're doing that, you're doing your best to try to follow the precepts of the law.
She definitely is putting herself out there, isn't she?
Bada bing, bada boom. And so anyway, it made me think about I don't know about you, but when people follow the Lord, which it says right here, I am a friend to all who fear you. I love meeting believers. I love meeting people who love God. I love especially when you're not even at church. If you're just out and about and somebody goes, oh, I'm a Christian. I love the Lord. I study this. I am just tuned in. I love meeting people and befriending people who are brothers and sisters. And here's somebody, Psalm 119, who's saying the same thing. I am a friend to all who fear you, to all who follow your precepts.
Well, in light of your confession, let's see if people will text us at 424-444-1948 and tell us you like us as believers.
There you go.
Yeah, you're a believer. We're a believer. You are thankful that we're giving info as believers, and you're receiving it. But we want to hear from you.
424-444-1948. All right, Steve, producer Steve, what do you got here?
As far as news?
For Chet.
Oh, for Chet, I got mercy. Mercy. Mercy according to verse 58, according to your word. And boy, is that heavy. Mercy. God's mercy according to his word. Chris, God is holy. You know, I'm reading chronologically through the Bible. This is the first time I've ever done it before. And so the text tries as close as possible to start from the very beginning and chronologically move forward. And so it mixes, especially with the kings. You got a little prophet, you got some psalms, you got all kinds of different things. And right now, in September, we're in the just at the point where Babylon is at its height. And Nebuchadnezzar is chapter 4. In fact, I read that this morning. The dream that comes upon him, he's in big trouble, mister. A big trouble, mister, where he's got to live as an animal for a long period of time. It's not good. Not good at all. But think about it. God's mercy. If God were to judge Nebuchadnezzar just for his unrighteousness, the short time that he was judged would be nothing. Bupkis. Mm-hmm. But because of God's mercy, he brought him back. And the man he brought back, at least from the text, there's great debate here. I don't think it was the same Nebuchadnezzar.
No.
The change is so dramatic from where he was when he took Daniel and his friends and a couple thousand others of the top 1% of the young people in Israel as captives. And now he's a repentant person, and he proclaims it. He would sign up for Team Jesus.
What mercy? Can you describe mercy? What is? I mean, we hear these words grace, we hear these words compassion, and mercy. What is mercy?
Mercy is where we have the person has a right to do us in, but doesn't.
That's right.
A person as a parent. Have you ever displayed mercy to your kids? Have you had mercy upon somebody on you? Yeah, we all make mistakes and do things that we shouldn't have done and rightfully deserve judgment. But when it's held off for mercy's sake, God is merciful. But in his mercy, never, ever compromises his holiness.
This is huge.
That's the bottom line. How does he do that?
Yeah, this is huge.
Somebody else has got to pay.
Well, that's, when you look at culture today, a lot of times we look at the crime that's going on in cities and things of that nature. And what the result of a lot of politicians is, well, hey, look, the only way to lower crime is to compromise. And so what we'll do is we'll increase that. Like, if you steal $900, we won't arrest you, or not $899, we won't arrest you. But if you steal $900 worth of stuff, you're going in jail.
So now you have criminals with a calculator.
100%.
I'm at 880 right now. I'm good.
That's right. Even politicians are willing to compromise law in order to show mercy to people, but that doesn't help people. It actually encourages more lawlessness, where God upholds his law, gives mercy, but never abrogates, never changes, never sacrifices his holiness. It's a part of his character and nature, but never that's the amazing connection between God and his son Jesus, that they are all a part of the Trinity, but he gives his one and only son that he becomes the just and the justifier at the exact same time.
The other word I had, Chris, is the Hebrew word shub. shub. It means to turn back, to come back. And in verse 59, listen to what it says in, where am I here?
I have considered my ways and have shuv, turned my steps to your statutes.
Turn. You know what happens when you're in a Jewish home like I was, and you tell your relatives that you have come to Jesus Christ? Here's what they say. You turned.
Is that what they say?
Oh, yeah. My mother used it. My father used it. I've heard people who I've shared with. But by the way, they're right.
Yeah. You literally have turned.
100% correct.
Do you say, yep, you're right, I did turn?
I turned. But the problem is, where were you when you turned? I still remember my mother saying, you turned. And I said, Mom, you're right. When God created man, we were face to face with God. And I because of sin in the garden, I turned. Not literally, I wasn't even born, but mankind turned. And when I came to believe, I turned. But I turned back to face God.
Yeah.
And that's so yes, I turned. It's not negative. That's positive. I turned to you. The idea of turning to is something, by the way, happened to Nebuchadnezzar, who I just read about. He turned. He repented. He turned. He learned his lesson. The hardest thing for us as humans, I hear that a lot now. We're humans.
Yeah.
People avoiding talking male and female and gender. We're all humans. Well, as humans, we are helpless, hopeless. We're far away from God. Unless we turn. And how do we learn to turn? The way I learned to turn was through the word, the precepts, the law. In fact, I identify with the Apostle Paul and many others. The law. Is the law good? A lot of Gentiles think the law is bad. Oh, I'm sure glad you Jewish people have it. We don't have the law. We're not. Well, I would have never got saved had I not known the law.
Yeah.
Because the law taught me how low I am. And something had to happen in order for me to reach God. And in his mercy and through his word, I learned that Jesus paid the price for us.
That's right. The law, again, it can't be stated enough. The law is not bad. It's
not
that
at
we're
all.
not
It's perfect.
It's perfect. It's that we're not righteous.
That's
only
the
a
problem.
righteous person can fulfill the law, and that's only Jesus could do that.
Look, when you drop the law, there's debate humanly. What do we do?
Yeah.
Are we gonna fast? Are we gonna give? Why? Because they not know the preciousness of the word of God.
That's right. We've had that conversation. You're talking about the 2 Torah scrolls that fell. We've had this conversation before, but again, it shows that the value that Jewish people do have for
Big
the law,
value.
but not so much in taking the words and allowing it to change them.
Ask me, if you would have asked me about Psalm 119, while I was in Hebrew school, we never talked about Psalm 119. I didn't know about Psalm 119. And it's not my synagogue's fault. They gave me a Bible to read. I just didn't read it on my own.
Yeah. And this is, again, why Psalm 119 is important, because it shows that the psalmist, and even David writes this way, and other psalmists as well, have a value of a great value of the law. They want to live their life according to the precepts, commands, and statutes. In fact, as I was going through Zayin and Chet, Steve, I wanted to do a little word study on how often the words command and statutes are used throughout this, because it seems to appear in all of the various acronyms throughout the alphabet of Psalm 119, because these are the things that they clung to in order to understand what God wanted them to do. This is huge. When God gives you a command to do something, if you blow it off like this, that's not good. That's the whole point.
You got Tsuris.
And that's the reason why here in Psalm 119, they're saying, if I cling to your word, I'll remember you. I'll find comfort in you and hope in you. All of the various things that we've been laying out. And so, Steve, I've been encouraged by Psalm 119 so far, and we're moving through it.
Yep, we are moving. Well, Chris, Rosh Hashanah is coming up.
Okay, here we go.
Rosh Hashanah, New Year, apples and honey, challah and honey. And so Jerusalem Post asked the question, why do we eat round challah on Rosh Hashanah? I don't know. I never thought about that. And so there's lots of different answers. And there's a whole article, pictures of the challah. And
which all look amazing, by the way.
Amazing. Well, the idea is, at first they thought, well, it's round and the year is round and it's another new year. So the roundness tells us about the end of one year, the beginning of another year.
Steve, this is why I love Judaism so much. Honestly, you can't even make bread without it being a symbol. You know what I mean? Honey, fine. Apples, all of it. It's also
a sweet New Year. Don't you want a sweet New Year?
Exactly. But here, now we're talking about why is the bread round? And there's reason. I love it, actually. Everything has a symbol, and the symbol has a meaning that drives you to God.
Well, the bottom line, and of course we'll put this in the show notes, is that there's so many challahs that have to be made at Rosh Hashanah that round is easier for the bakers.
That's the practical side.
That's the practical side of it. I thought that was an interesting article.
It says underneath here, I have discovered that the main reason for having round hollows on Rosh Hashanah has something to do with the first relatives in history, husband and wife, Adam and Eve. So if you want to learn more about it, we didn't get a chance to go all the way through it, from the practical to the biblical, then you can get this in the show notes. Why do we eat round challah on Rosh Hashanah?
There you go.
All right, Steve, the next one that you found here, which I'm going to need some help on, but this one comes from the Times of Israel. Moron jihadist selfie leads U.S. to HQ of the jihadists.
Yep.
General hails incredible intelligence work after Air Force locates command center and levels it in a day.
Well, by the way, you gave just enough information. This is how Mossad works. A guy who they...
Is that the picture, by the way?
He's a moron. I have no idea. He's a moron because he takes a selfie at his headquarters. The Israeli intelligence get this picture. He posts this picture. It's accessible. And they figure out exactly where it is.
Is this where intelligence is these days, where we find out who the bad guy is? Okay, so bad guy's, this guy's particular name. And then what do? They go to Instagram and follow him?
Interesting you say that. The airmen are combing through social media, and that's what they do. They comb through social media, see some moron standing at his command. Carlisle was quoted by reports as saying Monday during a speech in Arlington, Virginia, and in some social media open forum, bragging about command and control capabilities. So they found him and blew it up.
That is so crazy.
Wait, let's go to terrorism school. First lesson.
Yeah.
Don't tell people where we are.
That's right. Put your phones away,
Put
please.
your phones away. Unbelievable.
It's quite honestly, that's not just a terrorist problem. I know that they say to these in the IDF. I know they say you can't post things online. You can't. They have to. I mean, these are all kids. You know what I mean? That are serving.
Yep.
Kids are used to being online and checking Instagram and TikTok and all that stuff. And so this isn't just a terrorist thing. This actually happens even in. I'm sure the militaries of the United States and Israel, where they have to tell kids, hey, no posting here, no doing that. You can't. In fact, we've been on military bases before with the IDF, and they say, hey, look, no, you can't take a picture. You can't do this.
Chris, when we were on the border, they told us if you want to take a picture where you are, do it facing west, not east.
Yeah, exactly. See, they know that people are looking out for it, just like they're looking out for these people.
Exactly.
I just want to know when somebody says so-and-so wants, like the terrorist is checking his Instagram feed, it says so-and-so wants to be your friend. Is it like the Israel Defense Forces wants to be your friend?
Who knows? All I got to say is they better go back to school.
All right. Steve, next one from the Jerusalem Post. Media blackout. Over 200 media outlets across the globe join mass editorial protest against Israel, Steve.
Yep. For potentially the first time in modern history, 200 media outlets are participating in this protest. It's actually an editorial protest. The global media blackout was coordinated by Reporters Without Borders, RSF, the International Federation of Journalists, and the campaign movement of Avez. As part of the protest, print newspapers will run blacked out front pages. Broadcasters and radio stations will pause programming with a joint statement, and online outlets will black out their home pages or banners. Chris, this is amazing to me. They want to black out in protest of Israel. Have you heard a protest against Hamas? Have you heard a protest against taking hostages and then putting them on in front of people when they're weighing 90 pounds? No protest there.
No, and even thinking about the fact that Israel has a very vibrant journalistic environment in their country. I mean, you read Haaretz. That's like the New York Times of Israel.
Liberal.
Very liberal. They're not fans of Netanyahu. Same thing with Times of Israel. I don't think Times of Israel is necessarily the biggest fan of the Netanyahu government.
They're like CNN.
Yeah, exactly. And then you get to more Ynet News and more conservative outlets. They got them all. And there's journalists in Israel. And there are American journalists and foreign journalists that are all in Israel. And they're all reporting about everything going on. You know, they report about the riots. They report about the protests. They report about the government that they like or don't like. Everybody's reporting. But then when you go into Gaza, okay, when you go into Gaza, they control media in Gaza. Before October 7th, if you went into Gaza, they showed you where to report. And so it's just interesting to me that for such a open-minded society like Israel is, especially when it comes to to freedom of speech, and that they would protest them for, I'm guessing, some journalistic integrity or something of that nature. It's interesting.
It's very interesting. Well, Chris, we have a video.
Yes.
I was watching this, Chris, and I'm telling you, this took me back to the days when I was teaching on the Holocaust and talking about Germany in the 30s. Here we are. We're not in Germany, but we are. This concert goes on. Avinu Malkeinu, which is Our Father, Our King, a Rosh Hashanah song where we remember and repent, look back at our day, at our year, and want to repent for the sins we have done. And this amazing voice, beautiful orchestra in the background. And then for those of you who watch us on YouTube, watch what happens. Beautiful concert hall.
Amazing. It's in Warsaw.
Great orchestra. Lower right hand, watch there for those of you watching. Lower right hand. There it is.
Yep.
Chris, that I cannot tell you how horrible that is.
For those listening, you were just listening to an Israeli singer performing for Rosh Hashanah in Warsaw, Poland, of all places. Beautiful. And out of nowhere, a protester comes up and sprays red paint all over him to signify blood, which sends everything into chaos. But Steve, you and I were talking about this beforehand, and you were saying this is Germany in the 1930s all over again.
Exactly. It's beginning to spread. It's conditioning where a Jewish person, anywhere they go, or any Jewish event that happens, they're always thinking, somebody's going to attack me. Something's going to happen. It changes the way they do things. That is why, the best example I have, Chris, is here, not far from where our home office here for Friends of Israel is a town called Cherry Hill. Mm-hmm. We're very familiar with it. We talked about Encounter. We volunteer at the Jewish Community Center, Friends of Israel. We have a great relationship with the folks there. It's wonderful. We happen to know an Israeli couple that are friends of the Friends of Israel. We know them very well. And they were saying that part of their community, they had a opportunity to spend some time with the police department at Cherry Hill. This is in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. And in light of the October 7th, the community met because there are a good proportion of Jewish people there. And you know what the police department said? In order to keep you safe, take off your mezuzahs.
Yeah.
Remove your yarmulkes, men who might wear them. downplay any item that would make you look Jewish. That's Germany in 1933.
Right here in Cherry Hill, New Jersey.
It's here in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, and it's around
in New
the
York
country.
City. They said the same thing in New York City
exactly.
as well. Yeah.
And so here you have in Warsaw, Poland, where 3+ million Jewish people were killed in the Holocaust. It's coming back. The Jewish population is coming back. The government is very friendly to Israel. There's a good relationship. But wouldn't you know, Avinu Malkeinu, our Father, our King, beautiful voice, orchestra. The people are just sitting back and enjoying, and somebody comes and throws representing blood, red paint, upon them. It's just bad.
And again, it's that whole mentality of transferring what you might criticize as Israel's actions in Gaza to anti-Semitism. So whenever people go, no, I can hate Israel, but I love Jewish people. Well, then why are you targeting a Jewish man in Warsaw singing a
song for a Jewish holiday?
People? That's right. And that's called anti-Semitism.
That's
and
exactly
it's targeting that person for who they are. And Steve, I'll just couple in another news article that you featured as well, because it fits in perfectly, because here in Philadelphia, not far from us, is actually a place that you go when you're on our encounter group, which is the Jewish National Museum of American Jewish History, the Weitzman National Museum of American Jewish History. And they have a big Support Israel flag that they fly that's hanging on the building out in Philadelphia. It actually faces Independence Hall, which is amazing. But somebody spray painted it with red paint, and they had to clean it off. But again, that was vandalism toward Philly's Jewish History Museum, which we have featured in our show notes as well, Steve.
Well, you know, Chris, we have talked about a lot the need for the IDF to have more soldiers, and the controversy through the years of ultra-Orthodox not being part of the IDF. That's been going on a long time. Israelis are very upset about it. It's gone to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court ruled that they should be part of it, but it's very difficult, and it involves the government and all that. But so there's two articles that came. First of all, this is from Ynet, dozens of ultra-Orthodox men enlist in IDF, proud to serve and protect Israel.
That's right.
That's a good thing.
I like that.
I like that a lot. And then the next article I found also on Ynet, maybe I now know why, chariots of money. IDF reservists reporting tomorrow to receive record financial benefits. And I'm not critical here. The United States has done the same thing in the past.
Yeah.
Recruiting involves, hey, I got something for you. So,
I've heard before, I don't think I'm exaggerating the numbers, even with police departments, you get like a $50,000 signing bonus to just come into the...
That's right. They're trying to, hey, this will make it worth your while.
That's exactly right.
That's the idea. But Chris, that's good news to me because I've talked to Israelis, you have too. It's discouraging to a large proportion, especially the young people who are enlisting, and they know their counterparts, same age, did not have to go. We're praying, they would say. We're praying instead. We don't have to go. So that is good news.
Well, Steve, I have to, speaking of good news, I have to get on the radio here in a minute. But here we go. Yiddish word of the day. Yiddish word of the day, my friend.
The Yiddish word of the day is for that moron.
He took a picture of himself.
You know what we call him in Yiddish?
What?
A Yutz.
He is a big Yutz.
Stupid, unthinking, socially inept person.
On social media.
So the Yiddish word for the day is, don't tell people where you are if you're doing illegal activity.
That's right. He is a huge Yutz.
That's all I could say.
All right, everybody. Hey, thanks so much for being a part of the Friends of Israel's Jew and Gentile podcast. Just a fresh reminder, go to FOIEquip.org, sign up for Isaiah 53. Could it be Jesus with Dr. Will Varner? He's going to share with you all the various insights into Isaiah 53 and then ultimately point you to the fact that, yes, the suffering servant is Jesus the Messiah. I hope I didn't give it away. You still got to come. Also, don't forget, you can sign up for all of our programs. We've got an amazing class, Bridges, coming up this October that you can participate in. Free online Jewish ministry training.
And text us, Chris, at 424-444-1948 if you're a believer.
That's right. And get your free stickers. Hey, everybody, thanks so much. Have a great one. We'll see you next week.